continuing Katniss's journey. It's not really about getting out of the games anymore. We're moving into a real war between District 13 and the Capitol. So, things are kind of naturally getting darker story-wise, visually, because we're underground a lot in District 13. But that we're just following her journey. Katniss has been completely stripped down when we find her at the beginning of this movie. She's had suffered from post-traumatic stress from the first games. She had to go back. She wakes up in a district that she didn't even know existed. She's lost her home. She's completely bare and has to rebuild herself. So fortunately, we almost shot in sequence. When one of the first scenes that I shot was when we first find Katniss, and she's locked herself in an air vent. And so I think that it's naturally she's in a darker place because she's completely stripped away from everything that she knows and has to rebuild. The fans and our audience are constantly in our conversation because that's how all of this, the excitement around these books, and it's who we're making these movies for. So before we make any huge decisions, there's a conversation with Suzanne Collins. There's definitely an awareness of our fan base because it is so giant and so important to us. Drawing on your own personal experience is tricky for me. I never really understand how that works because it's not me. It's a very different person that handles emotions in a very different way. I mean, I would have just been crying every single day and been like, "Where's my mom?" But I remember reading the first books and when I read them, I was going through my first award season for Winter's Bone, and I had never experienced anything like that, of just kind of being put in dresses that are uncomfortable and that I didn't like, looking not like myself, and all of a sudden everybody's listening to you and you're like, don't listen to me, I'm 20. And then kind of growing into it in a way, and I felt like there were a few parallels of that, of having people kind of look at you and listen to you at a very young age when you don't really feel ready.
It was really nice to hear Katniss kind of singing in the film, and I was just wondering, what do you think, if she was here now, what kind of stuff she'd listen to?
What's on her iPod, basically, I guess is what she asked. What kind of music
Lord.
Katniss would be listening to.
Definitely Lord.
Hey, good answer.
No, but honestly, when the first time I ever heard that Lord song, I mean, I think it's Yellow Flicker Beat, or something like it's. Yeah. I mean, it just gave me goosebumps because you read a book, you kind of internalize a character, you go on set and you kind of you have conversations with the director, with your co-stars, you have conversations of how to build something I've never really heard. It was so bizarre, really, to kind of hear a musical version of what emotionally I feel in between action and cut sometimes. I know that sounds like a really weird thing to say, but she captured that character so magically that it was a really amazing thing to listen to. So I think Katniss would be a huge Lord fan, and obviously Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Who's awesome.
Yeah. Nina Jacobson, the producer of the film, sort of called me one day and just said, "We think we've figured out a way for Effie to be in District 13." They just wanted Suzanne's blessing, of course, and which I did as well. It was really important to me that Suzanne was on board and that the fans felt like we weren't taking too much away from the books. We really want the authenticity of the books always, and so. It made more and more sense to me once I reread Mockingjay. I essentially took the role of Fulvia. And Fulvia, we were already introducing so many new characters in Mockingjay that I think Nina was right to bring Effie along for the ride.
For Cressida, it's kind of irrelevant at the beginning
whether she believes in Katniss or Katniss believes in herself. I think she's just got a very objective, professional attitude to it, that they need to package an image, spin a poster girl, and so they both set out thinking that's how they're going to handle it. Is just Jen's nodding at me, and that's I think how we felt, But and then there's a surreptitious journey for both women. Cressida starts to actually genuinely believe in Katniss as she watches Katniss start to believe in herself. So I think they go on that journey together. The power of Katniss, as you see in Mockingjay Part 1, is when people just allow her to be herself. And the compelling thing of Jennifer Lawrence is that she isn't interested, she's just truthful, she's honest, she's herself. And that's why she's had the effect that she's had on so many young people, especially young girls.
Katniss Everdeen for Coriolanus Snow would be the ideal person to take over from him. She's perfect in everything that she does in his mind, and it's just that she's on the other side. So I'm so sorry he has to destroy her. But that being so, he'd like to postpone that a little bit. But it's inevitable. But everything she does is right, and it delights him. It charms him, and he adores her.
Frances Lawrence was amazing because when we met about it, we talked about that, about how she's sort of represented through Katniss's eyes, and so you don't know her. And then what I said I wanted to do with her was to show kind of a political evolution, that she came from this one district and she kind of evolves into a different kind of leader over the process, and he was great about it.
Frances, I think, has such a commitment to grounding as much of the movie as he possibly can in practical locations and real human experience. And it always comes down to, finding the authenticity and the honesty in those moments. And we always say, well, even though some of the things that happen, you might get attacked by some, crazed mutant from the Capitol, but how would you react if that really did happen to you? Not if it happened to you in a movie, but if it really did happen to you. And, the reliance on practical locations, the reliance on things like creating an actual hovercraft and bringing it in with a crane instead of doing it all on green screen. I think every time there was a choice to make that felt more honest, that was always the choice Frances would make. Well, Suzanne Collins, I think, has written a cast of very complex characters, both male and female. I think in this movie we have the good fortune of adding, two very important female characters, both sitting at the table, and that they're fully dimensional characters who are complex and surprising and not easily quantified. And not defined by their relationship to men, which is a refreshing change of pace. They want what we want. They love the books. They want them to be faithfully adapted. They want them to make them feel, they want the movies to make them feel the way the books made them feel. And they want us to not screw it up. They want us to do our jobs well. And I don't think that any one particular thing that this person or that person wants or that a bunch of them want, ultimately, they all want the same thing. They just want us to do justice to great material, and that's what we try to do.
Well, I was really, speaking of their imagination, Kurt and Bart, they sort of literally brought the standard issue clothes into a room, and then we did just start doing a runway project. Like, it was, well, what else could we do with all of these clothes? And Kurt and Bart, I don't know how much to say about them. They have experience with women's clothes, personally, I would say. And they, from the 80s in New York City, and they, and so they really knew what to do with like a pair of hose. And so it was quite fun.
It's definitely more comfortable, and catching fire, I mean, the costumes can be, the Capitol is so fascinating. And when you can really watch talented people like Trish Somerville, or in this movie, Kurt and Bart, watch their imaginations just explode. It's really amazing. And even being able to wear some of those dresses and being a part of that kind of creativity is really exciting. But for 10 months, I would not have liked to be in a dress. It was nice being in the Bob the Builder.
Yeah.
Both of our characters do actually have a lot in common. We're both very strong and very powerful. So there's something that we respect in each other, but also something that we both fear in one another.
And I think that, we were talking about this in the other room too. Suzanne Collins has written such wonderful, fully developed female characters, and that is unusual. And Natalie had pointed out that these are characters that, Natalie's character, my character, certainly Katniss, they could have all been male, but Suzanne chose to make them female. So, I feel, reading the books, looking at the movies, that the movies more generally represent the life that I see than the one that's generally depicted in film. So I'm very grateful to that.
It's a huge honor. Before I said yes to these movies, I knew we had a feeling, because the books were so popular and so huge. We had a feeling that these were going to be big and that this character was going to be with me for the rest of my life. We could have never guessed that it would. This surpassed every single expectation we could have ever had. And that made me nervous for a few days, because I'm an actor. I don't want to be remembered just as one character. That's a scary idea. But I'm so proud of these movies. I love their message. I love this character. I love everything about her, that I'm actually honored to carry this character with me for the rest of my life, and to have people remember me as this incredible, courageous hero. And some, I hope people mistake it for me. But yeah, it's a huge honor to be a part of.
It's true. This is one of the most pleasant, loving, fun groups of people that I've ever had the privilege of working with on a huge project like this. Everyone was so welcoming and so lovely and so talented and interested, and it was great source material. So for me, coming in at the very end, I can only imagine how they feel. The idea of dystopia is about whether or not one individual has the ability to change the world, and who you are morally, and do you have free will. And that's what these books speak to, and particularly for young people, for adolescents. It's like, who are you? Once and that's that point in your life when you're still under your parents' control, and you can see the future, and you're like, once I'm out there, who am I going to be? And so this series of books and movies is really about that. And it's about a young woman who moves from adolescence into adulthood and changes the world, which I think is every kid's hope, and fantasy.
I watched the first movie as a complete fan. The first movie blew me away. It was amazing. And it's you want me to shave my head? That's how badly I wanted to be in the movie. I think that explains.
Well, yeah, they originally asked her, would you shave your entire head? And she said yes, and then they just did it half.
Yeah, and then Frances was really lovely and went, yeah, we'll probably only make you do half.
Yeah. But she would have done it.
The kids want it because the books and the movies don't talk down. We are so overprotective of our younger people, thinking that they can't handle these timeless, universal human themes. That's why the books are as popular as they are, because children are so smart and perceptive, and they start tuning into all of this so young. So by the time they're at their adolescence and they're most sensitive, they are ready to discuss and debate these themes. And that's what these movies, the books and the movies do.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey You Guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yes.
Nice.
Hey You Guys!